Bolo Shishi Radha Gokulanand Bhagwan Ji ki. So we'll be doing verse 48 today, chapter 2, so 2.48. Those of you who've got your phones, you can open Veda Base and it has all the chapters along with purports and everything, along with pronunciation and Sanskrit. Otherwise, there should be some books. If not, then we'll just talk from, this moment onwards. So it's just I'm going to recite the Sanskrit first, and whatever you can do to follow, that'd be great. And then after that, we'll just discuss and read from the book. So if you don't have books, don't worry too much. But sometimes they tend to have a copy there in the corner. Sometimes they also have, where all, please check. If there is, everyone can have it. Okay, so first we'll do Sanskrit, then we do the English. So 248. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yogastha Kuru Karmani. Yogastha Kuru Karmani. Sangam Tvaktva Dhananjaya. Sangam Tvaktva Dhananjaya. Siddhi asiddhiyo samo bhutva. Siddhi asiddhyo samo bhutva. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So, translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Perform your duty, equipoised, O Arjun, abandoning all attachment to the success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So we'll read a little bit the purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Krishna tells Arjun that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? So yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. And who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because He Himself is telling Arjun to fight, Arjun has nothing to do with the results of fight, gain or victory, or Krishna's concern. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern, Arjun is simply advised to act according to the dictation of Krishna. The following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga, and this is practiced in the process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness only, one can give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna, or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one to act in yoga. Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and as such, he is participating in the Varnashram Dharma institution. It is said in the Vishnu Purana that in the Varnashram Dharma, the whole aim is to satisfy Vishnu. No one should satisfy himself, as it is the rule in the material world, but one should satisfy Krishna. So unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Indirectly, Arjun was advised to act as Krishna told him. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedant Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarani. So thank you for joining us. It's a lovely, beautiful day outside for a change. Spring is finally coming, and welcome to those of you who are watching online as well. So there are a few ladies and gentlemen here because they're going to have their sunshine by listening to Krishna's words. So it's a very beautiful verse, and we all know the term yoga. We've all done, I don't know if any of you guys have tried hot yoga. I did a couple of years ago. And that's all about when you get up in the morning, you think, oh, God, 6 a.m. class. And I kid you not, is what, 37 degrees, Rajesh? 40 degrees, 38. So you like literally sweating buckets, yeah, that kind of yoga. And towards the end, what they do is make you say, Om, or like try and meditate for 2 or 3 minutes. So you nearly do a 90-minute class or a 60-minute class, but you don't think about Krishna, you don't think about God, you don't think about meditation, apart from trying to physically, trying to better your physique or your figure or your health, which is nothing wrong with it either. But that's the word yoga that we are all acquainted with, you know, pranayam, to make our insides better so that outsides automatically become better. But Krishna here is talking about yoga, and he's giving us his definitions. So we all know the word yoga has come from Bhagavad Gita as it is. That was spoken about 5,000 years ago. So all the deviations or different types of yogas that we know in today's world, it's not wrong. Of course, you know, you do need health to do everything and anything in life. So one should, you know, look into that as well. But as long as we know the difference. So yoga basically means that linking of one's mind with the Supreme, right? That is the real meaning of yoga. But here we're very lucky because Krishna is giving us 2 or 3 meanings of yoga. I mean, going back a bit, Krishna's talking about, you know, they're talking about how when one, so in a verse before that, just to give you a little background, they're saying you have right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself to be the cause of results of activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So what Krishna is emphasizing on in previous verses, that irrespective of what it is, don't worry too much about what fruit you're going to get out of, result you're going to get out of your action. But in real life, if I have to attend an interview, do I go with the mind of just thinking, well, I'll just do my best and I don't want to be successful in there? Come on, let's be honest with ourselves. Who thinks I'm doing this because I want to be successful? Right? Would you say that? When you go for a job, when you go and perhaps perform a drama on a stage, or when you go to a business meeting, we do it with the intention of being successful, right? Whether it's adulation or clapping that we crave from all the audience, if it's a drama that you're doing on stage, or whether it's an interview, or whether it's cooking, whether it's singing, whether it's anything in life. We've got someone inside us who feels happy when people say, oh, you've done this nicely, because you've executed it nicely. But Krishna's telling us here that the result is not for you to worry about. And here in this verse, when we read the actual meaning, it's telling us that there is 3 types. Like he said, yoga is, he started off with the definition of yoga. So let's read that yoga bit again so we know. So he's saying, yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. That's true. Every time we try and focus on something, and there is so much emphasis these days on mindfulness. So you're doing one thing at a time. Be there in the moment. If you're anything like me, mind, when I'm driving, I'm thinking when I get home, this is the sabji I need to make. Oh, I need to put this on, or I need to do this afters. If it's at work, you're thinking, oh, I need to have this done, but what else is a priority that I also need to do after this, you know? But all this business about mindfulness is Krishna's telling us, yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. Correct. We can apply this to work as well. Practically everywhere you can apply this, right? And then he's also saying that Krishna's dictation is also real yoga. So following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga. So that's another. So as long as we can follow the instructions of Krishna, then that is also deemed as the real yoga. This is practiced, and the process is called Krishna consciousness. And the important thing to remember is that we don't feel attached to whatever it may be. I mean, think how liberated you feel when you go into, say, today I have to come to give a class, and I haven't had, say I've prepared everything, yet if I've, say for example, I didn't have chance to prepare, if I wasn't thinking, how is the class going to be received? How am I going to come across? Do you think how much freedom I'm already getting? Because I'm not worried about, one part of my brain is not weighed down with, how am I going to be doing this? How am I going to come across? You know, you literally just try and do your best, your sincere effort, and leave the rest to Krishna. That is what Krishna is saying, that as long as you are thinking about him, as long as you are attached to your duty. So don't think like, oh, I don't want to go to work, or I don't like to do this, so I shouldn't do this. What he's saying is the real yoga is following the words of Krishna. So we've studied here before that, you know, by the way, say if we take example of Acharya Prabhu, he's an exalted devotee. I remember 25 years ago, he may have come to my husband's corner shop one time, and he was basically sorting things for Krishna. And it's difficult, you getting up in the morning, going out to pick up things, do things that you don't necessarily know where it's going to take. And yet, you still don't feel intimidated by that. You still take that action because that's what we are meant to do. Because we're doing things for Krishna. We're not doing things for us, so half of us feel liberated anyway. And also this Prabhuji makes the gorgeous fennel bread. If you haven't tried that, in Radharani Bakery, you should try. There is no one who ever makes that kind of it. The bread is just like it. It's got the aroma of fennel, and it's sweet, and it's got sultanas, and I cannot tell you. Every time Prabhuji makes it, I just say to him, could you please make us 3 or 4 so I can keep some? And then we use it. And then I give it to all my friends. It's such a nice present to give to others. But anyway, the point I'm making is that whether we are working outside, whether we are working in temple, whether we are a grahastha and we are learning about Krishna, whenever we are facing any difficulties and we really, really want to taste the sweet success, please remind yourself that you need to be equipoised. You need to be not worrying about the results of whatever action you are performing, because that is up to Krishna. The only thing that we have in our hand is the action that we can do, the duty, the sense of duty that we can increase to learn more about Krishna. When we are chanting, to chant with our mind solely focused on Krishna, and so on. So for example, I'll give you an instance. Almost a year ago, I started applying for certain jobs. I work in civil service, and I've been in one job for quite a long time, so I thought it's about time I moved. And I got successful at the interview as well. After 2 or 3, I think I got through. But I got through in a reserve list. And I was thinking, Krishna, what is this? This is it. It's automatic. The person, you just automatically want to give some sort of blame to others. You're meant to be detached. So really, it shouldn't have mattered whether I made it to reserve list or whether I got through. All these things we study but when you want to apply in practice, this is where it's difficult. And then with Krishna's mercy, I got another job in which I wasn't reserve. I just eventually got, through clean. And I was just talking to one of the girls who told me that her daughter worked for the team that I was meant to be getting through for. And normally in reserve list, your name comes literally after 1 day or 1 week. And I've known people who've just literally got through after 1 day, they've been called. So I was thinking, it's a year now almost, and after a year, it falls through. So I thought, I'm not going to be getting promoted after all. And I shouldn't have. And then this particular person was telling me the team that I was craving to be going for, that particular team, she was telling me something that there wasn't something that was correct, or there was someone that she knows or somebody close to her knows that they were having some issues and so on, which I'm sure might have been rectified or whatever. But I was just thinking in my mind, like, Krishna knows what to give you. You may want £1 million, but Krishna will give you what is good for you, right? So it's like somebody wants to be a pilot. They got the bestest job. They are CEO of something, but they want to be working as a pilot somewhere, and they're trying their best to apply for a pilot's job. But the thing is, it's not in their hand. In the end, it's karma. It's so many things. It's Krishna's arrangements, So we need to start thinking about, if something happens, great. If something doesn't happen, well, there must be a good reason, because it's Krishna's arrangement. And if we start thinking about that, think how de-stressed you will be automatically, right? Because in the end, nothing is in your hand. Why do I say that? Can you give us an example? Sometimes it happens. You've done everything and you can't get on. For example, for COVID, how many people had tickets to fly out? They'd paid the money. They had the paper in their hand. But look what happened. Unthinkable. Never in our previous life, or never in our previous experience or in history, we have thought where everything is standstill. All the country is basically closed borders to each other. No one's flying nowhere. But this is it. So we can't control everything and anything at the end of the day. So why give ourselves stress? Oh, I should have done this bit more. Of course, learn lessons from whatever you need to. But also because Krishna tells us in chapter 2, and I think we've done that verse, 38 verse from what I remember. Shri Radha Gokulanand Bhagwan ji ki jai. Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki. So their lordship's going to be having their bhoga and hopefully prasad later. So Sukha Dukha Same Kritva Labha Labhau Jaya Jayo Tato Yudhaya Yujasva Nevam Papam Avapsesi. And the meaning of that is it's actually in chapter 2, 38th verse. And it says in there, do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall incur sin. So why are we talking about being detachment, by being with yoga and all these things? It's because every time, like we've heard in science, every action has equal and opposite reaction. Similarly, in karma, although we believe in Karam Yoga is different from karma. Karma means that we are trying to accumulate even for our good actions and for our bad actions, whatever action we're doing, we are accumulating a reaction. It could be pious, it could be bad. But the point is, we want to come to a platform where we do not actually incur or benefit by having a good or bad reaction. Why? Because we want to be on a platform where we are free from these actions and reactions. Because if you want to be progressing in spirituality, if you want to be advancing more, then when we say Satogun, Rajagun, Tamogun, everyone knows there's 3 gunas, right? Rajesh, what are the English for Rajagun, Satogun, Tamogun? Satogun is the mode of goodness. So there's people who are very truthful, they're very, how ideal they're meant to be, like that. So mode of passion is the next one. Like Lord Brahma is deemed to be in that. And then there is mode of ignorance. So there is also, there's different activities. Like they say mode of goodness, it's divided into everything. It's like, say, first thing in the morning, everybody tells you, every religion tells you, do meditation, or go to church, or go to temple, or go to mosque, or do meditation in the morning time. They in this, like they tell us here that you should do it in Brahma Muhurat, which is like early morning, because your mind is all clear, it's had the rest, right? And then you can really focus nicely. So Satogun, Tamogun, Rajagun, like that. So when you're feeling lazy, when you're feeling tired in the evening, that's different. So everything is divided into those. So even if we are in the topmost, which is Satogun, it doesn't mean that all your problems are solved, because even in Satogun, you are still incurring some activities and reactions to those activities every time you're doing. But our purpose of having nil, clean slate, that means we don't want anything either way. Because if you've done good, if you've done something bad, or you've got bad reactions, then not in this life perhaps, but you're going to get reactions in next life. Sometimes you think, like the other day, last Sunday, I was doing some singing there, like doing Mahamantra, and one of the Prabhujis came and said, there's a 6-year-old girl. They said, could you please do a kirtan for a girl who's left her body, who's died recently? And I was like, how old is the person? And they said 6-year-old. And I was like, why does Krishna do that? Like, what chance did she have to commit any sins? She didn't, did she? How do you understand that? Krishna's not cruel, we know that. Krishna is very magnanimous, he's very kind to us. But why does these things happen? We need to try and process that information in your mind. And then you think about it. This action, reaction, karma, previous birth, all these things that we think is science fiction, or it's shown in movies or Bollywood, like, it's actually, some of it makes sense. How is it that one person is born to be a king, and yet in the same family or in the other family, the same person is having to not have those luxuries? How is it that you didn't become queen, although you may have even more good values than some of the people who are being, So it's all because it's predestined, some of it. And it also depends on our karma in previous life that we can't remember. You can't remember. What are we supposed to do about it? Nothing. The harm's done, right? We leave it to Krishna. But what can we do in this life? That's the important question we need to ask ourselves. We need to ask, what can I do in this life so my next life, if there is any, who knows? But because Krishna's telling us there is, we have faith, we believe that there is. What can we do with practical things that we can do in this life so we don't incur any reactions? So So even when we say, look, if we pluck a fruit, if we pluck a flower, right? Even if you have done nothing wrong, say you've bought something in supermarket, there is karma attached to it because someone would have maybe harmed someone before it's found itself on your plate. Whether it be, I know we say animals, that's just common anyway, but even vegetables and we know trees, they've got consciousness. They also got consciousness, right? So they are live too. That's why people say eat live food because that's very good for your health, right? And don't try and overcook this, that, the other. So how is it that you can only get karma when you're killing someone? Of course, that is a very high level sin. And whereas if you're plucking a flower or a fruit, you're still causing injury. So to mitigate all these reactions that one may get, because even though you are innocent, but I've taken some grapes, if I'm eating it by myself, then I will get sin. But the same grapes, in my attitude, in my bhav, in my thinking, if I am then able to think, I'm going to supermarket, I want to buy some really nice grapes. Have you heard of those popcorn flavor grapes? There's one, like some of the supermarkets actually do some flavored fruits now, which are like weird. Do you think how much they've messed about with our fruit before we've got it on the plate? But whatever it is, if you're thinking, I want to eat something, or you could be thinking, I want to be making this for Lord Krishna, or the Lord that you believe in. It doesn't have to be, it could be anyone that you believe in. Obviously, if it's for Supreme Personality of Godhead, that's the best way, because then you're watering the roots. You don't need to then water the leaf, because there's so many gods, goddesses in Hindus as well. But the main person, once you please one person, everything else is, you don't have to worry about it because it's automatically served, right? It's like stomach. If you give the same grapes that you've got for yourself and you're very, very hungry, automatically you only feeding mouth to fill your tummy, but automatically all your body parts are getting energy. It's a bit like that. So when you worship one God, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and offer something to them, then because you're doing it with the consciousness of doing it for Krishna or doing it for the God that you believe in, then automatically it's prasad. The sins are eradicated. Rajesh, can you find me that verse about Yageshishta 3:27, I think is. So people who do not offer, they say they verily only eat sin, basically, is what they say. It's in, I think, chapter 3. So I'll find the verse for you later. But those are the reasons why we want to be in yoga. Because say I'm driving, and somebody else is driving who's going to be attending, say, sadhu sangha or a group meeting or something we call these days like sangha groups. Like I'm one of the mentors with Krishna's mercy, with Guru Maharaj's blessings. So we get together sometimes online, sometimes in person, to each other's house, like a house, so that we can all cook something and then we all come in and we talk about scriptures, read scriptures, because we can understand it better. So when you're doing that, you are no different. If you're speeding on the road, you'll still get a ticket. Somebody else who's just driving to work or something like that, mundane, they'll also get ticket because they're also driving. But what's the difference? Because you're speeding to reach the address where you're going to be talking about Krishna. So even the basic things like that, like your job, if you've got Vaishnavas in the house, so when you are actually raising a family, like I've been told that I'll be a grandmother soon, in next month or so, and that's even better than any of the promotions you can ever have. I haven't become as yet, but the point is, should I be just happy for myself? And should I be just thinking, oh yeah, because now I've got a grandchild, I can forget about all my duties because nothing else matters. That's a duty too. Of course it's a duty. But the reason why it's going to be a Krishna conscious activity when I look after the baby, when I look after my grandson or granddaughter, it's because I'm going to try and raise him as a devotee of Krishna. So automatically all the acts like, so I'm going to earn money every single day. I go out of the work, do my hours, I do shift work, come home, sometimes you're tired, but whatever it is. So the same money that I am using, I've got same house like you, but the difference is, in my mind, I'm thinking, I am actually, I've got lovely Radhe Shyam Sundarji at home, beautiful Radharani. And so I also need to make food for them. So I make bhog for them. They call bhog and prasad is different. When bhog has been honored and offered to Krishna and they've honored it, then it becomes prasad. So we are all practically doing the same thing, but guess what? Some of it's going to be incurring sins and some of it isn't. And the difference is in just your consciousness. If you're going to be thinking, I want to just please myself, you're going to incur, right? When you are actually serving your parents, thinking that they are part and parcels of Krishna, when you are serving your wife, your child, your extended families, you're looking after in charities, anything other pious activities that you're doing, but you're doing with the intention of helping others, with the intention of bringing Krishna consciousness into your life and their life, and you seeing them as part and parcel of Krishna, automatically you come to a platform where you don't feel all these things that your mind and senses disturb you. You automatically come to a platform where you become equipoised, where you become balanced, where you're not angered because somebody has just hooted at you while you're driving to work. You don't care. You hear all these road rage, this, that, the other. If there's traffic, what do? I've got Krishna's chanting thing going on in my car, or because your hands are full because you're driving, you can still say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Come on, what can you say? Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Or you could be listening to like Rajesh Krishna. He has made a CD, he has made like a memory stick of all of Kadamba Kanana Swami Maharaj, all of Guru Maharaj, and he listens to lectures because you're listening to Bhagavatam. You can't do anything. Can you fly when you're stuck at A40 or A312 or any of the other roads? Can you? No. Is there any point in you getting agitated? Because the sun's shining, you're meant to be somewhere, and you automatically get yourself worked up. But this is it. Once you start following Krishna's words in various sort of practical things, it's not all mundane. We're doing all sorts of practical things. We also work. This Mataji who was just doing Pujari service, she was working for a big firm, NHS or something beforehand. But she still made time. This is it. So one has to make time for the real dharma, which is your inside, Sanatan dharma. It's a me time, but me time for what? Is this just physical body? That we can do as much yoga. I can do Pilates, I can do hot yoga. I told you, I did lose lots of weight when I did do hot yoga. But then what? Once you leave it, then what happens? And am I going to be guaranteed that I'm going to be living to 120 or 140 years old? I don't think so. Do you think anybody, good luck to us if we're going to. I don't know how we're going to even walk and do basic things then. But the point is that irrespective of what we do for this body, eventually it's going to go in a coffin, right? That's a fact. You get either cremated or where the people are different in different ways. But if you do something for the soul, now we have studied in chapter 2 that soul never dies. Soul cannot be cut into pieces. We've studied. If you haven't studied, please be my guest today and pick up a book called Bhagavad Gita as it is, because this is the book with difference. It's got Sanskrit, but it's also got English. And it's got English, and it's got all the meanings as it is. This is done obviously by His Grace, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And we cannot thank him. He was 70-year-old when he first came here. Was it 73? Because this year we're doing 50th installation of Radha Gokulananda ji. And yes, so the important thing is that just as Srila Prabhupada's been kind enough to bring Krishna into our life so that we can be conscious of him. You are visiting him, so you all want to come and see. And when you come here, you get a weird kind of peaceful feeling. Otherwise, you won't come here. Do you go to places where you get agitated all the time? Who goes there? I know work, sometimes we have to if we don't get on with boss or anything like that. But mostly, people avoid. And they want to come to places where they can relax, they can meditate, they can think about something else from this rat race of having designer bag, designer clothes, best car, best competition in planes, whatever your money situation is. Everybody tries to get the better TV, the smart TV, blah, blah, blah. But that's not going to take us anywhere in the end. What is going to take and make us progress really is by trying to advance our consciousness, by trying to read Srila Prabhupada's books, in which, I kid you not, I've studied, I've done my degree in combined sciences, right? But he's given a book which is called Science of Self-Realization. And as much as I've studied about the protozoans, the nucleus, the botany, names, the geology, all those things, I don't actually need or use any of that at all. Think about it. What did you do your degree in? Or where your studies are going? And you do have to, because you need to get somewhere, you need to get a good job, you need to do all these things. But then please not neglect the soul. That the food for soul is not all these things that we have in the material world. There is material world and there is a spiritual world. And this yoga thing that Krishna is talking about here, that there's three different dictionaries and three different definitions he's given us. And he's saying, concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. Because if your sense is saying to you, oh, I like chocolates, how much chocolates can you have? You can have 1, 2, 10, 20, 40. What's going to happen eventually if you let it give in to your senses? A, you're going to not be able to move because you would have put on so much weight. That's bad. So we can't let our senses take control of ourselves. We need to be, they call it, there's a term called Go Swami. Swami means someone who has actually learned and applied the knowledge of Krishna consciousness onto themselves. And they've churned the nectarian realizations from all the previous acharyas, and they've applied them into their life, and they're spreading to others. Like we've got some of the brahmacharis here, some of the maharajas here. So then what? So you can't be controlled by your senses, but we are. There are times when we don't want to be angry. We know we're going to make a fool of ourselves, but what do? We can't keep quiet. We shout. Later on we go and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do this, blah, blah, blah. But if we are able to control our senses, guess what? We won't need to embarrass ourselves. We'd be in control of what we're doing, and we can also focus on something which is extraordinary, which is out of this world. But Krishna consciousness has been made very easy for us, even though it's a spiritual world, Krishna's world. It's the topmost Goloka Vrindavan Dham, which is the destination for all the devotees. Because that's the world where you don't have to take birth, you don't have to be doing anything, where you can just be serving Krishna. And to get all these control in our life, what do? They say everyone has got a good part in them and bad part in them. So we have demons inside us and we have the divine inside us. Who wins? The one you feed most, right? So how are you going to feed the divine part? so that you can control your senses. You can make something out of your life. You can then know what is your goal in this life. Because like us, cats, dogs, everybody else, the animals, the plants, they're all reproducing, they're all sleeping, they're all waking up, they're all, even a little ant. Sometimes just see, now that there's summer, there's so many ants. See how busy the ant is. Might live for just 2 days, but still busy holding on to the food particle or whatever. Do we want to end up like that? We don't. We want to be different. So what can we do? Practical things for us is yoga, the normal yoga that we all hear about. You can do that as well to be healthy. But at the same time, the most important yoga is to link your mind to the Supreme. And there's various ways. When you come to these classes, which are done, if you can't come to these classes, you can hear them online. One is done every 6 p.m. From Bhagavad Gita, and in the morning they do from Srimad Bhagavatam. Then, if you're not the studious type and you someone who's active and wants to be out and about and do things like that, you could be doing walking, but listening. There's so much technology these days, you can do that. You can come here, stand in front of Krishna, which is what you've all come to do, 7 o'clock Aarti, to have threefold experience, divine, darshan of Shri Radha Gokulanandaji. He's the most beautiful. And then you'll be hearing Maha Mantra. It's not normal mantra. It's called Maha Mantra, the mantra. It's only got 3 words in it. If you keep singing one song, you get fed up after a while, right? But this, you try, be my guest, experiment. The more you do, the more you like, the more you want to hear, the more you want to read in books. I used to think, oh my God, it's so boring. How can someone do that 24/7? And that's the aim. We're not going to be able to do that right now. It's like practice makes perfect. But what can we do? We can start with somewhere. We can take a verse a day from Bhagavad Gita, read the purport, and try and think, how can I make my life better in this material world? You can always wake up to the nastiness. Oh, this person's attacked this person's been murdered by this, God forbid. All these nastiness that you wake up and you hear on news. I'll stop doing that. That used to be my routine first. But now I don't. I'm just thinking I need to get my chanting done. Why? Because I'll hear about anything which you don't even want to hear about, you end up hearing, yeah? There's so much these days on, phones, this, that, the other. But you're not wasting your precious time, which you can use to meditate, to give yourself that great start in the morning. Be peaceful. Not hating someone, not angry with someone. You can be not competing with someone. You are special in your own self. And whatever you're doing, whatever actions you're meant to be taking that day, remember this verse 48. Krishna is saying there, perform your duty equipoised, O Arjun, abandoning all attachments to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So this yoga thing, you can practice every single moment in your life. Everything and anything you're doing, like I mentioned. If you're going for an interview, don't think about the outcome. That's not up to you. You just give it your best shot. That's it. If I'm giving a class, I'm not going to think, are you going to like me? Or are you going to be saying, oh yeah, it was good class or not class or anything like that? Because the success is not mine. If it's a good class, then the credit goes to Srila Prabhupada Ji and my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. They got us started on this, right? They've given us a head start by writing these books. And we are just repeating what's in his books. And if it's a bad class, then obviously I'm definitely responsible because clearly I should have prepped up, right? But Krishna's telling us, don't worry about good, bad, victory, defeat, and then you liberate yourself. So let's just make one vow today that whenever you're stuck in traffic, at least just say Hare Krishna mantra in your mind or loud or sing along to, there's so many songs these days for Maha Mantra. And let's just put all our hands up. Whatever you can do at your house to your deities, serve them. Just give them water. Just give them flour. Krishna says, Patram Pushpram Phalam Toyam. He doesn't want much. All he wants is whatever you offer him, but with respect and love. But don't go offering things that we're not supposed to, because he says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam. No other stuff that you may like to eat, right? Anyway, let's just put our hands together and let's try and work with detachment to the results, is what this verse is telling us. So I'll end my talk here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki. Thank you so much. And thank you, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And let's just do Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So now there's going to be Aarti. So Rajesh, so in 2 minutes there's going to be Aarti. I know they usually give you question answer sessions, but I just thought there's not enough time. So I haven't done that. But I don't know who's meant to be doing Aarti, Prabhuji. Someone here? Okay, please take it. Thank you again for coming and listening and being with here today. Hare Krishna.
सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की, गौरानिताय की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की। जया जया गौराचंदे, आरती का शोभा। baje karatala. Madhura vedanga baje paramarasala. Madhura vedanga baje paramarasala. Jai Shri Krishna Lakshman Hanuman ki, Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Namo Vishnupat Paranparayacharashtu Sasimati Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Namo Vishnupat Paranparayacharashtu Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Maharaj ki Anant Koti Vaishnavind ki Namacha Haridas Thakur ki प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की मायापुर धाम की वृंदावन धाम की ऑल गोइश assembled devotees Hare Krishna all goish assembled devotees all goish assembled all goish all very जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की
Hare Krishna. We will do the Narasimhadev prayer now. So please sit down. This is the prayer for our protection. So please sit down.